When we read through the Old Testament, it becomes apparent that the nation of Israel was constantly, materially, literally engaged with warfare from enemies that sought to destroy them. And we remember that when they entered the promised land, that they had to go into warfare against these different Amorites and Philistines and all these other groups, and that many of the nation's fears overcame them because they were threatened with literal death and destruction. And we know that, like all countries of the day, they had to build physical fortifications around their cities, and that when they went in to overtake a city, they had to overcome the physical fortifications that the other nations put up, just like Jericho, and they blew the horns and the walls fell down. So here we are thousands of years later, and we're living as a people, and we're still wandering about on earth as believers in the living God. And in many, many ways, the scene and setting is no different. In fact, it's almost more insidious. It's one thing to arm yourself with weapons and to build fortifications materially, to surround your house, to ward off enemies and threatening invading armies and the like. But we are surrounded, all of us, on every side, instead of other nations necessarily, even though that can be the case. We are surrounded by enemies that are just insidious. I mean, they are far more vicious and powerful than the nations that the nation of Israel faced. And of course, we all understand the principle of arming ourselves against these enemies. What are the enemies today? Let's just name a few that are obvious. The porn industry. It's a huge enemy. It's very enticing. It provides immediate gratification, and it strips away a healthy sexual relationship over time and erodes that foundational thing. And it comes with a whole bunch of issues, huge issues, but ubiquitous and everywhere. Hate and hate groups. But then again, in addition to that, we have the policing of language, where it's considered hate if you're just merely telling a joke that everybody gets. So we have this high alert policing going on, but at the same time, we have some high alert hatred going on, and that is all around us and our children. We have false teachers who are preaching and teaching stuff, we came from pond scum to there is no God, to, ayahuasca will release you from all your woes. I mean, we have false teachers pushing out everything possible as enemies, really, of the light. Social media and, our supposed, I was talking with my daughter about it. The social media trendsetters, I'm going to say. They're called something else. What are they? Influencers. Bullshit. They're influencing us with what? All their skill and insight on life? They're 22 years old and have done nothing. And then we have our women who are making just oodles of money selling themselves on, it's like porn too, on online. So all of this stuff is an amalgamation. And then, of course, we have disease. And we've got COVID, and that has divided the world. There's people who are certain that it is part of the end times. We have people who think it's just another epidemic like Spanish flu. And we've got anti-vaxxers, vaxxers. It's everywhere. And there's all sorts of reasons for people to be diverted from one place to another. I want to tell you what I believe is the secret defense that's like building a wall around those you love. And I want to remind us that it's available immediately, constantly, ubiquitously, and I believe it works. I'm not a mystic. I don't really buy into a lot of metaphysical weirdness, but the longer I live, subscribe to what I am going to tell you. And it's the literal, virtual power of prayers. Now, I am not saying if you pray that God will protect your family, that it will happen. I'm not saying that if you pray to not get COVID and die, and you get COVID and die, that God has dropped the ball. But I am saying that in the economy of Scripture, it seems like God has to be invited in. It seems like he doesn't just impose himself on people, but that he is there at the ready to help. His help will always be in accordance with his will. And there will be times when Junior is sick and Junior will die in spite of our prayers. However, I suggest that the greatest defense that a family has, an individual has, a couple has, against the onslaught of this world is not warring against flesh and blood. It's not through political mandates and the arguing that ensues from that. It's not found in the things of the flesh. I just want to promote to you now that you go to your God. You invite him to come in every day that you can remember to the lives of your family. And he builds a wall, a spiritual wall of protectedness. I believe that he can heal somebody from COVID. I believe he can heal somebody from cancer. I believe he doesn't always do it. But I do believe that when you offer your family up, there can be, if it's his will, a protection. And that, yeah, we might get sick, but we might not die. Yeah, we might struggle, but we'll make ends meet. Yeah, we'll have issues and problems, but we'll be able to survive. And in the days that we don't survive, and we do face the fallout from this world, we're assured that we've petitioned him. He was invited. And when the response doesn't come, that's his will. Because that's all you're going to have anyway. You're not going to have anything else. So we have our families, and we have our children and grandchildren. That means so much to us. And we lift them up to the living God who can do all things. And we trust that he has the power to protect and bless and govern and guide. And we offer up our faith that he will do this if it's his will. And that if he doesn't, that we have the strength to continue on knowing that whatever happens, it was meant to be. That's the insight I have on how to overcome the things that are growing in this fallen state. Love you guys. Have a great week.